So after a very long sessions, I wish to intrigue some interest in my project because it's a protocol proposal, which is Prospero registered. The title is Beyond the Bones, a protocol summary of a systematic review of published clinical trials of vitamin D3, evaluating its extraskeletal effects and optimal dosage. I'll be carrying out the systematic review in Topiwala National Medical College. So these are the list of abbreviations I've used in my presentation in alphabetical order. So I have structured my presentation in the following outline, is that I'll try to answer a few of the frequently asked questions, and then I'll walk you people with the questions. We'll address the questions that why did I begin, then what did I do, addressing the methodology, then what do I look to find in my systematic review, which will be a part of the result, and then what do I make out of it, which will be the conclusion part. So I've structured this in that format. So beginning with a few of the frequently asked questions, what is a systematic review protocol? So to answer this, I've used a Cochrane standard reference to which says that a systematic review protocol is a document which is available in the public domain, which lets the audience know why did this investigator, this review author begin this particular study, and then what are the needs to be addressed, that is in terms of the condition which is being explored, and the intervention. So here the intervention is vitamin D3, and the conditions I'll talk about in the later slides. This is a systematic review protocol, is a proposal which also helps to identify, assess, and then summarize the available evidence. Then this is the Cochrane defined definition of systematic review protocol. Then I'll talk about what is the importance of registering a systematic review in a standard registry. And then I'll talk about what is the difference, what will my study contribute to the pool of available evidence. And I'll talk about what are the parameters for evaluating the risk of bias assessment, which is the standard part of a systematic review. And then based upon the evidence, I'll try to answer whether if the heterogeneity level is within acceptable range, I will consider doing a meta-analysis. So the importance of presenting or publishing a protocol is that it helps prevent selective reporting and publication bias. Second is that it enhances transparency and reproducibility of the study. It facilitates peer review and it also ensures methodological rigor. It promotes ethical accountability and also avoids duplication, and it encourages collaboration, which is what I look forward to doing. And I look forward to these elect audience to help me collaborate my systematic review. So now comes the introduction to my actual presentation. What is a systematic review? It's a cornerstone of evidence-based medicine. It facilitates rigorous and comprehensive synthesis of existing research, which ultimately helps informing clinical decisions and policy making and also leads to future research. Now, the loophole in observational studies and clinical trials, which have indicated associations between adequate level of vitamin D and reduced risk of severe chronic conditions, as severe as even cancers. Now, the available randomized controlled trials have tested preventive and therapeutic potentials of vitamin D. However, they are marked by inconsistencies, which have created ongoing uncertainty regarding the optimal dosing for diverse health outcomes and patient population. Now, the research question which I posed to my proposal is categorized into cardinal, supportive, and others. The cardinal question being, what are the effective doses of vitamin D for improving specific health outcomes? The supportive will be to establish a dose-response relationship between vitamin D therapy and clinical outcomes. And in the others, I tried to pose this question that what are the safety profile and potential adverse effects of different vitamin D doses? The primary objective being, in order to answer all those questions, is that to determine the comparative effectiveness of different vitamin D doses on clinical outcomes in randomized clinical control trials. The secondary objectives to address the other questions are to investigate dose-response relationship between vitamin D therapy and specific health outcomes. And the last being to identify potential adverse effects associated with different vitamin D dosages. Methodology of this particular systematic review is that it's a prospectively Prospero and CDRI registered. Even the ethics committee approval was accorded to me, and it's a review of clinical trial, published reports of clinical trials of vitamin D, exploring its pleiotropic effects in major fatal diseases, just like pleiotropic effects which were seen in metformin and even statins. So this is this is the third drug which could be explored for its pleiotropic. Now the conditions which I look forward to systematically review are clinical trials done on autoimmune spectrum of diseases using this intervention of vitamin D3, cardiovascular diseases. These are the disease domain which I look forward to review. Inflammatory diseases, for example, Crohn's disease, inflammatory bowel disease, when this particular intervention has been found to be useful. Then pre-diabetic conditions, just like statins and metformin, which have also shown pleiotropic. In that case of drugs, even this particular vitamin D3 have shown to be quite effective. And even cancer, not to miss cancer, it's also been seen that it helps to a certain extent to improve overall survival in cancer patients. So this which I followed, following the PICO criteria and using Boolean operators, I zeroed in onto 68 studies. When I looked for the first domain, then I also looked into the clinical trial registry, wherein I could find, for these conditions, I could find around 81 trials which I will be evaluating systematically. And these are the domains which I will be evaluating in the risk of bias assessment. That is, I will evaluate the risk of bias in terms of randomization, deviation of intervention, missing outcome data, the outcome measurements, and selective reporting in terms of selectively reporting only the positive findings. Now, there is no such formally determined procedure for sample size calculation as per Podium standards, but still in order to make it relevant, I have after going through the following two data standard databases, I have zeroed in onto 40 to 182 trials, and further I will be evaluating the risk of bias assessment using Cochrane tool, risk of bias 2.0, and these are the various domains which I will be covering in my systematic review. And these are the plots which I will be eventually plotting for my analysis. This is the traffic signal plot, and this is the summary of findings plot. And these are the sophisticated softwares which I will use in my review. One is this grade profiler guidance development tool. This is how it provides a comprehensive summary of the findings, and this in turn will help me establish certainty of evidence using the grade evaluation parameter. And I look forward to also categorizing based upon upgrading, downgrading to determine the certainty of evidence into high, moderate to very good. And concluding my presentation, this particular systematic review will help to bridge the evidence gaps as outlined earlier. It will help in evaluating the comparative effectiveness of various vitamin D doses in the diverse outcomes, and ultimately it will help the clinicians to prescribe better, and also guidance policymakers to come up with good guidances on this particular disease domain and intervention. You must codes to the available registered protocol with Prospero and the registry. Thank you so much. I have referred Podium handbook and ICMR guideline for systematic reviews. Thank you so much. And lastly, I wish to inform that I have even applied for a grant, so I look forward to collaboration from the STU if they are willing to join my systematic review.
What are the difference between for your research question, why not a network meta-analysis?
It is very much possible, but I did not make this consideration during my protocol planning stage. It's very much doable.
What is the difference between network meta-analysis and a systematic review?
Network systematic review, it's a cross-collaborative and multi-centric nature of reviewing. I'm not much familiar only with social review, narrative and systematic review, but by the word itself, I can suggest it's a networking type of systematic review. I'm not familiar with this particular method.
Can you use to find out this data from that?
The standard data, I follow the standard databases, that is, one was clinical trials.gov. I even looked into clinical trial registry of India, the databases for all those clinical trials when vitamin D3 was evaluated for varied conditions. And my second was Medline using PubMed. So through this, when I did the advanced searching in PubMed, following the PICO criteria, I got plenty of studies, and then through advanced filtering, I zeroed in onto 68. So these are the number of published reports of clinical trial reports evaluating this intervention of vitamin D3. The number which I will be looking forward to do is anything between 40 to 180. Having reference of this screening through databases, the range which I got is between 40 to 180. So these are the number of reports I will be reviewing systematically.
How many years
Last 1 year, right? Last 1 year, because the study goes into thousands and even more